Star Wars 7 by 7 episode 2122. One of the best parts of Star Wars stories is when they rhyme with each other in a wonderful and delightful way, and there's a lot of that happening in The Phantom Apprentice, which is episode 10 from season 7 of The Clone Wars. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voylab, and this is Star Wars 7 by 7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. And thank you so much for joining me for it. So here we are with The Phantom Apprentice. This is the second of our final 4-part story arc for the Clone Wars TV series. This is a full spoiler podcast, so there's your warning for you. We will do a quick recap here, and then we'll dig deeper as we go through. So, as we left things, Ahsoka had been cornered in the depths of Mandalore by Maul and a bunch of Mandalorians. Naturally, she's able to escape with the help of clone troopers who come to support her, and Maul says, "It's not time yet." Time for what? Well, we'll find out eventually, and so he takes off. Meanwhile, the clones are securing Mandalore and have done a fantastic job, except for maybe one sector where there's still some stuff going on. And while they're talking about this, they're also in communication with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we find out that this episode is taking place in a particular window within Revenge of the Sith. So the initial skirmish over Coruscant has already happened, and Obi-Wan has been assigned to go to Utapau to deal with General Grievous, but he hasn't left yet. And Anakin has been given the job to spy on Chancellor Palpatine, but that hasn't come to fruition, as it were. In the meantime, Maul has managed to overrun a bunch of clones and take the oldest one prisoner because he is not familiar with Ahsoka Tano and so wants to learn more about her. And so he is doing a, mind situation, a break-in where he says either your mind will tell me or it'll break. And so Jesse, unfortunately, has to bend to the will of Maul and give up everything he knows about Ahsoka Tano. Meanwhile, the Mandalorians and clones working together have captured Prime Minister Almec, and Maul tells Gar Saxon, that Gar Saxon from Star Wars Rebels, that Almec shouldn't be able to give them any more information than he may already have, and sends Gar off to assassinate him. And apparently just in time, because they find out from Almec, at least Bo-Katan and Ahsoka are trying to question him and say, what's Maul's plan? Maul doesn't want to leave the planet. He's perfectly happy there, but he's trying to find out about somebody, and he is able to tell Ahsoka that it's Skywalker with his dying breath, I should say. There's a lot of running and gunning, and unfortunately for the good guys, Saxon gets away. And then Maul has all of the Mandalorians under his command attack in numbers. And when Bo-Katan and Rex and Ahsoka go to the throne room, they find Maul sitting on the throne as the rightful ruler of Mandalore. Haha, at least so he thinks. And he releases Jesse, so Rex takes Jesse away, and then the battle royale starts outside, which Ahsoka sends Bo-Katan out to go deal with. So we're left with Maul and Ahsoka. And this is where things really get interesting. And you know what? I think I'm actually going to change my mind here. I'm going to roll back a little bit to some stuff. So in the beginning of the episode, when Maul and Ahsoka face off for the first time, one of the things that Maul says, and you know what? I'm just going to play it for you. Maul musing about why Ahsoka is here, wanting to understand what's going on.
He is the key to everything.
To bring balance to the Force?
To destroy. He has long been groomed for his role as my master's new apprentice.
You lie.
I'm afraid not. In fact, I was so certain of his fate that I orchestrated this war to lure him here with Kenobi, to kill him, thus depriving Sidious of his prized pupil.
And I'll tell you, I really am at a point where, I want to put every Maul monologue into this episode because they're all so good. The writing is really excellent in that regard. But I'll move forward and say that in the scene where Obi-Wan is being briefed via hologram and the question of Anakin comes up, Obi-Wan actually tells everybody to go away and then reveals to Ahsoka what's going on with Anakin and this assignment to spy on Chancellor Palpatine. They want Ahsoka to perhaps talk with him. She thinks, what, you want me to justify what's going on with the Jedi Council? No way. You gotta be kidding me. And Obi-Wan here says that sometimes the Jedi Council isn't always doing the right thing. And this is a remarkable admission from Obi-Wan and also a very critical one for his relationship with Ahsoka as well. But swinging back to Maul, and this episode really is a lot about him. He tells all of the syndicate leaders to go into hiding because he believes that he knows what's coming. He knows the fire in which the galaxy will burn and that it's about to be lit. And that whole thing with Prime Minister Almec, well, him getting shot and being able to tell Ahsoka with his last breath that Maul has been having dreams and this, incredible sense of dread, and there's one person he's focused on, and the person's name is Skywalker. Well, this also is not the only time somebody has died with the name Skywalker on their lips. Obviously, that happened with Yoda in Return of the Jedi. Kind of different characters in different situations, but it's an interesting little rhyming thing that happened. And then the bit with Maul and Ahsoka in the Mandalorian throne room and him offering his hand to her and saying, join me and we will defeat Darth Sidious. Well, that kind of echoes both The Empire Strikes Back with Darth Vader saying, join me and we'll defeat the Emperor together, and also The Last Jedi with Kylo Ren offering his hand to Rey. Now, I know that I was talking about lightsaber battles earlier this week with the ones that we saw in that Maul story arc with Brothers and Revenge and Revival, and those were all very cool, but the lightsaber battles in this episode are probably the most amazingly done ones in the entire series. It looks like they are done as close to realistically as possible, and yet they are all still fantastically acrobatic, absolutely done in a manner where you think, oh my gosh, these are people who have abilities beyond anything you or I or any other person we know has, and yet it couldn't be done in anything other than animation because of that final sequence where they're up in the rafters of the beams on that building, and they're basically fighting along multiple balance beams for all intents and purposes. It would be so difficult to do that in real life. You would have to have people on wires, but it would look like they are on wires. This is done in a way that it doesn't feel like animation. It feels like it's more motion capture, which is just astounding. I think this has got to be the pinnacle of lightsaber battles in Clone Wars, to be certain. And there's a moment where they're fighting, and Maul says, you have Kenobi's arrogance, and Ahsoka says, you'll find I have a lot of qualities you'll dislike, or words to that effect, which reminded me very much of Luke Skywalker's "you'll find I'm full of surprises" line from The Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff. Darth Maul saying it's time for the Padawan to learn one last lesson. Reminded me of Ezra Bridger in Star Wars Rebels. He has that one last lesson line. There's a lot of stuff threaded throughout the episode that echoes back to other things in Star Wars storytelling. It's really awesome that way. And there is a moment where you think briefly that Ahsoka is actually going to help Maul, and I think this probably surprised a lot of viewers. And personally, while I was initially surprised, I don't think I really believed it, and certainly the rest of the episode seemed to support the notion that Ahsoka may have just been lying in that particular moment where she says, I will help you, but tell me one thing first, what's up with your deal with Anakin? Why are you, concerned about him? And this is Maul's response.
My surrendering. Well, that would be pointless, for if I am correct, soon the Jedi and the Republic will no longer be the controlling interest in the galaxy.
And who will be? You?
No. Darth Sidious.
Man, I'll tell you, for all of the lightsaber action and the Mandalorian clone Mandalorian battle action, for all that stuff, I gotta say, the Maul stuff and the integration of his growing awareness of what the grand plan of Darth Sidious was and the fact that it's coming to fruition. These monologues of his really have been my favorite parts of the episode. Like, I cannot wait to go back and watch them again. I've already watched it through once and just listened to it without watching it, just listen to the dialogue a second time, and yeah, I'm getting chills over it. And the performance by Sam Witwer here is just splendid. It is absolutely delightful. I love it. Now, I'm going to say something here, but I want to give you the opportunity to say sayonara if you want to say it. Not that I have any spoilers about the upcoming 2 episodes, but that there is something elsewhere in Star Wars canon that I think tells us at least a little bit something about the next 2 episodes. And so if you don't want to hear that particular bit of information, then I simply want to say to you, this is probably a good time to tune out. With my gracious thanks for you joining me as always, and may the curve be flattening for you wherever in the world you may be. And now that you've had fair warning and are staying, I have to say that we are not done with Maul at this point. According to the Ahsoka novel by E.K. Johnston that was released a few years ago, he was actually captured in some ray shielding situation when he was finally captured. And so this situation of him being, captured, like held by the Force by Ahsoka and then wrapped up in cables and stunned by clone troopers, this is not how it ends with him. And you probably already know that anyway from seeing one of the scenes in the trailers where Ahsoka is jumping up onto some sort of control panel thing, and there's apparently a clone trooper down nearby her. So, her fighting is not done yet by any circumstances, however you want to label it. So yeah, that is to come in these final 2 episodes. And here's what else we know. The log lines and titles for the final 2 episodes have been revealed. Episode 11 is going to be called Shattered, and the gist of it is that Ahsoka's journey back to the Jedi Council is disrupted when Order 66 is declared, turning her world upside down. And the final episode will be called Victory and Death. And the logline talks about Ahsoka and Rex needing to use their wits and talents to survive the end of the Clone Wars. And so that is where we are going to leave things with this episode of the show. Thank you so much for staying with me for this extra part, and also for you as well. May the curve be flattening for you wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox. It is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other related Star Wars items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2019 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.